The fire spread too fast. Officer Eli Mercer's throat burned as he screamed for his partner, voice hoarse, eyes stinging. The old barn groaned as flames licked the rafters, heat peeling paint from the patrol truck 20 yards away. And then, a yelp, high-pitched, cut short. Eli lunged forward, but the roof collapsed before he got past the threshold. The last thing he saw was a flash of fur in the smoke, then nothing. They told him it wasn't his fault, that it was too late. But every night since, he heard that yelp in his dreams. And then, 3 weeks later, he heard a bark. The barn had been abandoned for years, but something was off about the 911 call. A woman's voice, distorted and clipped. Static on the line. No details, just the words. He's burning. He's screaming. Hurry, please, he's... Then silence. Eli had been halfway through his second cup of gas station coffee when the dispatch hit. Titan, his K-9, sat in the passenger seat, ears perked, as if he knew something was wrong before Eli did. They were out by Carter's Bluff, where the land turned wild and the roads got soft with gravel and neglect. The barn was already half engulfed when Eli skidded the cruiser to a stop. Flames snapped like flags in the wind, orange and hungry against the darkening sky. Eli threw open the door, and Titan leapt out before he could say a word, nose to the ground, tracking something. Titan, hold, wait. Eli called, but the dog didn't slow. They'd been together for 5 years. Trained in Fort Leonard Wood, deployed to riots missing children, meth raids. Titan never disobeyed. Not once. But tonight, something had his instincts clawing through training. Eli grabbed the radio off his shoulder. This is Mercer, officer on scene. Structure fire. Need fire support. Possible persons inside. Sending K-9 in for search. No answer. Just static. The barn wasn't just burning, it was collapsing. Flames funneled through the hayloft and dropped into the stalls below. Smoke rolled in waves. Eli ran after Titan, heart hammering. The heat slapped him like a fist as he hit the doorway. And then, a scream. Not a man's. A boy's. Titan, he shouted. He heard the dog's bark, sharp, then urgent, then distant. Eli covered his face with his forearm and pushed inside, one step at a time, past a wall of smoke and glowing rafters. And then, a yelp. Sharp. Final. No. He surged forward blind, choking, reaching. Crack. The floor gave out. Eli came outside the barn. Smoke rising in coils. Fire crew swarming. He didn't remember who pulled him out. Didn't remember screaming Titan's name until he couldn't speak. They never found the dog. Or the boy. Just a burned-out collar. 3 weeks later. 6:07 p.m., Asheville County Forest. Just past Miller's Creek. The sun sagged low behind a tree line. Gold bleeding into bruised blue. The air smelled like pine, old moss, and something metallic. Eli hadn't worked since the fire. He'd been put on leave, voluntary, though the captain hadn't really asked. He'd stopped answering calls. He slept on the couch. Whiskey by sunset, dreams by midnight. But that afternoon, something pulled him out of the bottle. It was the letter. No return address. One line, typewritten, tucked under his front door. He's still alive. Come alone. Near the old fence line. Bring the toy. He almost threw it out. Almost. Instead, he dug into the closet where Titan's gear had sat untouched. Leash, collar, and the chewed-up blue rubber Kong Titan, used to guard like a dragon's egg. Eli drove without sirens. No backup. No radio. The forest pressed close around the road. Light thinned. Tires crunched gravel as he pulled into the turnoff near the fence line, where the forest swallowed everything human. He stepped out, Kong in hand. Silence. No birds. No wind. Just that eerie, waiting kind of still. Then, a bark. Not close. Faint. Raspy. From deep in the trees. Eli froze. His throat went dry. His hands tightened on the toy. It couldn't be. It couldn't. He stepped forward. The woods closed and vines catching his sleeves. His boots sank into soft, black earth. The sound came again, clearer this time. A bark, a whimper, and then something else. A voice. A child's. whispering, "Good boy. Stay down. Don't move. He'll come." Eli stopped breathing. "Titan!" Another bark, closer now, behind a thicket of alder. Eli pushed through, branches slapping his face, until, there, a clearing. The grass had been flattened. A rusted trapper's cabin leaned sideways in the trees. The door creaked in the breeze. He took a step. Another. "Titan!" His voice cracked. From behind the cabin, movement. Then, a shape, limping, black-furred, eyes too wide. The dog stumbled into view and stopped. Eli dropped the toy. "Oh, my God!" It was Titan, burn-scarred, ribs showing, left ear missing. But it was him. The dog stared, then whimpered, then broke into a run. Eli dropped to his knees. Titan crashed into him, crying and writhing in his arms, licking his face like he hadn't aged a day. Eli buried his face in the fur, shaking. I thought I lost you." Titan barked, then turned and growled. Low, warning. Eli stood. Behind the cabin, a child emerged. Barefoot, maybe 8, clothes torn, face smudged. The same boy from the fire reports, the one no one could prove existed. He was holding something in his hand. A lighter. The boy didn't speak at first. Just stood there. Thin arms hanging at his sides. Lighter still in his hand. A tangle of bruises on one wrist. His eyes weren't scared. Weren't crying. Just watching. Like he knew Eli Mercer already. Like he'd been waiting. Titan pressed close to Eli's side, body taut. He growled low, not out of fear. Out of protection. A sound Eli hadn't heard since deployment. Eli's voice came rough. "What's your name, son?" The boy blinked once, then looked past Eli into the trees. "I can't tell you." Eli took a step forward. "I need to know. You're safe now." "No," the boy said softly. "You're not." Behind them, a stick cracked. Titan spun, barked once, sharp, alert. Eli turned too fast. The clearing looked empty. Still, but the forest was thick and the light was dying. The boy whispered, "He's watching." Eli lowered to one knee, his voice careful now, like coaxing someone off a ledge. "Who is?" "The man in the mask." The boy's voice barely carried, but the weight of it slammed into Eli like a blow. And suddenly it all tilted sideways. The fire, the silence, the wrong 911 call. None of it had made sense. Until now. "You were there that night," Eli said. "You were inside the barn." The boy gave one slow nod. Then, almost too quiet to hear, he locked me in. Earlier that year, Asheville Local Foster Network. The town didn't have much of a system. One sheriff, 4 deputies, and a rotation of approved families who took in the kids nobody else would. Eli had responded to enough domestic calls to know the cracks ran deep. The kind of place where problems went missing until they didn't. He remembered a report. Early spring. A foster complaint filed by a substitute teacher. Unclean clothes, bruises. Flinching when touched. The boy's name was Milo. Age unknown. The family had 2 others. No one knew where from. Case closed within a week. Unsubstantiated. That was the word. Now, Eli looked at the boy and realized he'd slipped through. "You have to come with me," Eli said gently. "We can get help, medical attention, shelter, food. You don't have to stay out here." Milo looked down. His fingers curled tighter around the lighter. "I can't," he whispered. "He said he'd kill Titan if I left." Eli's stomach turned. "You've been keeping him alive all this time?" The boy nodded. "He followed me after the fire. He was hurt real bad, but he still followed." Eli knelt and looked the boy in the eye. "Milo, that dog would die before letting anything happen to you. But I swear to you, no one's going to hurt either of you now." A pause. Then, "He lives near the quarry. He watches the trees. He comes at night." Eli froze. There was an old mining quarry 10 miles out. Hadn't been operational since '92. But locals said sometimes they still saw smoke rising. Once, a hiker reported hearing a generator. The case had gone nowhere. Now it had a face. They made it to the cruiser, just before nightfall. Titan refused to get in the back. Eli opened the passenger door, and the dog climbed in like he'd never left. Milo sat in the back seat, wrapped in Eli's flannel jacket, staring at the world like it wasn't real. As Eli turned the key, the radio flared back to life. Crackling. Unit 12, Officer Mercer, confirm you're 20. Repeat, do you copy? He hesitated. If he answered now, this went public. Chain of command. Reports. Paperwork. Worst of all, exposure. If Milo was right, and the man who locked in the barn was still out there watching the woods, then they needed time. Quiet. Space to move. He reached for the dial, then stopped. His hand was shaking. Titan, he said, eyes on the mirror. Watch him. Don't let anyone near him but me. The dog thumped his tail once. Understood. Eli switched off the radio. He didn't go home. He drove to the old ranger station up by Clearwater Hill, locked for years since the funding dried up. It was dusty, half collapsed, but it had a stove, food, a cot, and a fireplace. He parked inside the old service garage and covered the windows with spare thermal blankets. Titan curled next to Milo near the fire. Eli barely slept. 2 days passed. Eli patched Titan's wounds, as best he could with the leftover vet kits. Milo never asked for anything. Just followed the dog, barefoot still, never flinched when the wind bit or when the metal cot creaked under his bones. That second night, as wind howled down from the ridge, Eli asked a question that had been gnawing at him. Milo, how'd the fire start? The boy stared into the embers. His voice didn't rise or break. He made me light it. Eli stiffened. Milo added, he said if I didn't, he'd bring my sister next time. Eli didn't speak for a long while. You did the right thing, he finally said. No, the boy whispered. I stayed quiet. I watched people leave. Even when Titan got hurt, I still stayed quiet. The next morning, the betrayal hit. Eli stepped outside for 5 minutes to check the gas in the backup generator. When he came back, Milo was gone. Titan barked once, tried to bolt through the door. Something was off. The back garage door, locked before, now hung open. Eli's gut flipped. On the cot, the Kong toy, wrapped in the flannel jacket, still warm, and tucked beside it, a slip of paper, torn, written in black ink, the same type as the first message. Come alone. You know where. Eli swore under his breath and grabbed his sidearm. He didn't call it in. Couldn't. Not yet. Whoever this man was, he knew their movements, their routines, and somehow he had gotten close enough to take a child from under a trained K-9's nose. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was personal. By dusk, Eli reached the quarry. It loomed like a scar in the forest. Gray rock, broken machinery, rusted scaffolding. The pit dropped like a throat into the earth, choked with brush and shadow. A single light flickered inside the old foreman's shed halfway down the slope. Eli moved low, slow. Every step on gravel seemed to echo. Titan crept beside him, tail rigid. They reached the outer ledge and froze. Inside the shed, Milo, hands tied to a beam, duct tape over his mouth, barely conscious, and standing over him, a man in a welding mask, heavy boots, canvas jacket stained dark. One gloved hand held a cattle prod, the other a walkie-talkie. Eli couldn't see his face. But something about the man's posture, relaxed, amused, set Eli's teeth on edge. The man clicked the prod. Sparks hissed. You want him? He said, his voice mechanical through the mask. Come take him. Eli raised his weapon. Step away from the boy. The man laughed. You think I don't know you, Officer Mercer? You think this wasn't always going to end with you here. What do you want? The mask tilted. I want to see if you'd trade the dog for the kid. Seems fair, doesn't it? Eli's hand shook. Then, bark, snarl. Titan exploded into motion. The masked man turned, too late. The dog latched onto his arm, dragging him down. The prod clattered. Eli ran in, cut the boy's bindings, yanked the tape free. You're okay, he whispered. You're safe now. But Milo didn't nod. He pointed, trembling, behind Eli. The man was gone. Blood on the floor. Boot prints leading deeper into the pit. Eli didn't follow. Not yet. He carried Milo to the car. Titan limped behind, mouth still red. Eli checked the boy over, then looked up the trail. Cold wind curled down. He knew what the man in the mask wanted now. It wasn't the boy. It wasn't the dog. It was him. 2 days later. Asheville Regional Medical Center. Private security room. Eli watched the surveillance tape on loop. Over and over, the same 3-second clip. The hallway outside room 212. A shadow. A flicker. A figure in a dark hood brushing past the camera, never turning, never pausing. 5 minutes later, Milo was gone. No forced entry. No alarms. The nurse said the boy had been asleep, that he must have walked out on his own. But Eli knew better. He stared at the frame, paused right on the silhouette. "He's still alive," Eli whispered. Behind him, Titan whimpered. He'd failed again. It was the same dream every night. Smoke, the barn, Titan disappearing into flames. Only now Milo's face had joined the dream. The boy's eyes, hollow, waiting for someone who never came fast enough. Eli sat in the dark living room of his father's old hunting cabin, deep in the Bluff Ridge woods. Whiskey bottle untouched. Radio silent. Titan lay at the hearth, his muzzle gray with ash, one paw wrapped in gauze. The dog hadn't left Eli's side since the quarry. Neither had the guilt. That morning, the third message came. This time, it was taped to the inside of Eli's fridge door. He'd locked every window, every bolt. Still, there it was. Final trade. The boy lives. You bring the dog. 1 hour. Come unarmed. Quarry shaft entrance. You already know the way. He crumpled the paper and sat hard against the counter. He didn't cry, but his jaw clenched until the bones ached. He looked at Titan. "No way in hell I'm giving you up again." Titan thumped his tail, whined once, then stood, as if he understood. The quarry shaft, 4:23 p.m. Ash clung to the cold, wet air like a second skin. The pit yawned beneath overgrown vines and crumbling fences. No birds, no wind, just the sound of Eli's boots crunching rock, Titan pacing beside him. Tense. At the shaft's edge, a rope ladder had been lowered. Titan sniffed it and growled. "You don't have to come," Eli murmured, rubbing behind his ears. Not this time. The dog didn't move. Of course not. They descended together. The tunnel beneath the quarry. The air was dead. Oxygen tasted wrong, like it had been used up decades ago. Old mining rails twisted into rusted rib cages. Oil lamps lined the walls, newly lit. He was waiting. Eli knew that. He could feel it. Far ahead, a metal door stood open. Behind it, flickering fluorescent light and something humming. Eli stepped in. The room was a bunker. Concrete walls. Generator thudding in the corner. Electrical panels retrofitted with timers and switches. And in the center, Milo. He sat cross-legged, blindfolded, hands tied, breathing shallow. Eli lunged forward, but the click of a hammer stopped him cold. "Drop it." The voice came from behind a column. Out stepped a man, mask on, and Eli's blood ran ice. It was Deputy Caleb Ross, his old partner, friend of 12 years. Drank with Eli the night after the fire. Held his shoulder when Titan died. Eli whispered, "You son of a bitch." Caleb smirked, gun steady. "I told him you'd figure out too late." "Why?" Caleb circled him. "Because this town eats its own. We were broke, Eli. They cut our hours. Cut our pay. But you know what sells?" He pointed at the boy. Fear. Tragedy. A broken child. A hero cop who loses his K9 in a blaze, then finds him again while saving an orphan. The public eats it up. Grants. Donations. Media coverage. I had people lined up to fund a new department. Eli stared. "You used him." "I saved him," Caleb snapped. The people he was with, those backwoods foster freaks, were starving him, beating him. I burned the barn to end it. "You locked him in," Eli said, voice low. "I needed him hurt. I needed the dog to try and fail. Pain cells, Eli. Titan growled, teeth bared. And then what? Eli asked, You keep the boy? Parade him like a rescue? Let the dog rot? No, Caleb said, shrugging. I was going to let the dog die in the woods. But Milo ran. Stupid little shit actually saved him. He laughed. Then it all unraveled. You wouldn't stay out of it. You can let it go. Eli's hands curled into fists. Untie him. Now. Caleb raised a pistol. You're not leaving here with both of them. Titan moved, like lightning, straight at Caleb's gun arm. The shot cracked. Titan yelped, but didn't stop. He crashed into Caleb's chest, sending both tumbling. The pistol clattered across the floor. Eli dove for it, slid, grabbed. Crack. Another shot, but this one came from Eli's hands. Caleb stopped moving. Blood pooled. Titan limped, dragging his leg, but came to Eli's side. His eyes never left the boy. Eli rushed to Milo, pulled off the blindfold. The boy blinked. You came back? I promised, didn't I? Eli said, choking up. He cut the rope from Milo's wrists. Come on, let's go home. 3 weeks later. Asheville VFW Community Hall. No uniforms. No press. No ceremony. Just a long table, 3 battered chairs, a blue rubber Kong in the center, and a child's coat hung on a hook by the door. Titan curled at Milo's feet, dozing. Eli filled out the last piece of paperwork, handed it to the social worker, and looked her dead in the eye. He's staying with me. The woman glanced down at the form, nodded. I think he already knew that. That night, back at the cabin, the fire crackled. The woods outside were quiet for once. Milo slept on the couch under 3 blankets, one hand resting on Titan's side. Eli stood on the porch, the cool night wind lifting the edge of his jacket. He looked up at the stars. He still dreamed of the fire, still heard the yelp. But now, when he woke, there was breath beside him, a heartbeat, 2 survivors.